I used to think that you can't build muscle while losing fat and I have to go bulk, then cut or something, which just delays the process. I want to get lean now. But this is far from true. You can build pounds of muscle while losing pounds of fat, just like I did in 4 months. I've been doing this for years on myself and on my clients too, using 3 simple rules that guarantees this works. So in this video, I'm going to break down what these simple rules are, but first we need to check if this can work on you. I want you to think of your body like a sculpture and your fat is clay. When you're in a calorie surplus, you're adding more clay so the sculpture can get bigger. And when you're eating at your maintenance calories, nothing happens to the clay. You're not adding more or you're not removing it. It stays the same. But when you're in a calorie deficit, meaning you're eating fewer calories than what your body needs to maintain its weight, then it starts to use the clay that's already on your body, which is your body fat, and the clay starts to wither down. Now, if you've got plenty of clay, meaning you've got a good amount of fat to work with, you can easily use that to build a nice muscular sculpture. But if you're already lean, there's not much clay left, then you're trying to build a detailed sculpture with no material. That's a bit too hard and you're just better off being in a calorie surplus and adding a bit more clay in that case. So if you're sitting at about 15% and above body fat, you've got enough clay to build a leaner, stronger physique whilst burning fat at the same time. It's kind of like dating 2 girls at the same time. It's tricky, but if you're smart, you can have a wonderful experience, my friend. These guys have no idea I get no pussy. Now, when I started losing fat about a year ago, I wasn't happy after my transformation because I ended up skinny fat. I thought I was finally going to have the confidence to go and approach women and recite poetry. But I ended up with less confidence than I started training to begin with. I started to resent myself and blame my genetics. Literally, like my great-great-great-grandfather. I blamed him. What the fuck, man? But that only happened because I stopped following this first rule. The same rule I followed religiously 10 years ago. Now, a few years ago, I was still figuring out if I wanted a mohawk or a buzz cut. I was discovering myself. I was trying to glow up. And I had a girlfriend who was way out of my league. So I did everything possible like a pathetic little bitch just to keep her happy. I picked her up from work, flowers, love letters. I learned the foreign language. Oh, I love you, baby. J'adore too. I made her my top priority. And the truth is, she didn't really love me back the way I loved her. So on the days I was off, tired from work, being busy, I couldn't be the perfect guy. And I felt her slipping away from me. And the sad reality is building muscle works the same way. We need to treat it like it's a girl who's out of her league or she's gonna leave us, man. One of the biggest reasons why I was jacked before is because I did this. I prioritized the absolute balls out of it. But once I started getting jacked and I got bigger, it compensated for my small penis and I stopped feeling insecure. So I started doing jiu-jitsu. And then I went from doing 60% of cardio. And on the days I would lift, I'd do jiu-jitsu before that and go into the weight room like a dead chicken. I treated it like a side chick, if you must. So how do we actually treat it like a priority? What do we do? If you want to build muscle, we know that we need to stimulate it. And when you're losing fat, you're in a calorie deficit, meaning you're in survival mode. And if your deficit is too much, like 1,000 calories, that means you're walking to the gym with no fuel. But if it's a smaller, smarter deficit, like 500, it's perfect. You're not really feeling it that much and you still have enough fuel to go use it, lift weights like an animal in the gym. And a hack you can use to make your deficit feel like it's a surplus when you're lifting weights is to plan your meals around your lifting session. So when I first started jiu-jitsu, I was the little bitch off the mat. Anytime someone had a bad day, where's this fucking Calvin? And during Ramadan, where a lot of Muslims in my team were fasting, I was eating all day, man. So when it came time to spar, I was loaded with energy from breakfast, lunch, dinner. And I used all that fuel to get the revenge for all the teabagging they did to me before. So try to eat your carbs before training because your body is going to use those carbs as fuel. And if you can sneak in some pre-workout snacks like a banana, a Gatorade, even some caffeine, you'll go from feeling like you're in a deficit to a 2,000 surplus. And say you're short on time. Maybe you can't hit the gym one day this week. Cool, no problem. You don't cut your weightlifting time out. You cut out cardio, not lifting. Or better yet, just go to the gym and do a 20-minute workout because studies have shown you can get very similar results by just matching the intensity. Say you normally do 4 sets of some kind of row. Instead, just do 2 sets with an insane drop set by the end of it, and you'll save your time and you'll match the intensity. Now, look, the truth is, I do have muscle memory, which did get me results faster, but a big part of what transformed me quickly was my exercise selection. I just did the most effective exercise that hits everything you need. It's like the times you want to wank and you don't have time, you pick that video which you know will get the job done in seconds. Check out the link in the description. There's a guide. It has the exact program I use and the same program I give to anyone who pays me. Now, when I first started going to the gym, I always felt like, man, all these guys around me are so fucking tough and hard, and I'm here like mama's little boy, soft like a flower. What are these guys eating, man? They all can't be on steroids. But this next rule transformed me completely into one of those hard guys. It always kept me strong and it helped me retain muscle even when I wasn't lifting. I would say that you can do absolutely everything in the world, but without this, you will end up skinny fat. Now, about 3 years ago, a few of my gym friends wanted to go out for this fancy dinner at this fancy restaurant, which is fucking expensive, man. I'll be pulling up to the valley and you'll hear my car squeaking like 10 miles away. It was normal for them, but for me, I was broke at the time. I'd find $5 on the street. That would be my lucky day. And the worst problem is I have a massive appetite, man. So if I went there and I ate, I'd have to stay back and wash the dishes for a month if I wanted to pay my share of the bill. So what I did was the whole day before that dinner, I just kept eating chicken, man, non-stop. I loaded my body with protein more than anything, so I felt full and I wouldn't have to sell my car after dinner. $30 for a Pepsi, man. I got robbed. But I did end up eating much less and I actually enjoyed some good food whilst being in a calorie deficit, even though my blood pressure kept spiking every time I looked at the menu. So by focusing on hitting your protein first, that guarantees you're building muscle. But the best part is it automatically keeps your shit together, because if you actually hit your protein goal, which is 1 gram per pound of body weight, it's hard to eat outside that, man. It makes sure you're following your deficit. Imagine you eat like 6 eggs for breakfast and then a few hours you have a protein shake. You're not going to be thinking about food later, man. You're going to be busy trying to deal with what you just had. So hit at least 75% of your protein target in your first 2 meals early on. And you can use this in many situations if you want to control yourself. So if I'm meeting my girlfriend's parents for dinner for the first time, I'm eating a lot of protein before, so I'm not looking and sounding like Jurassic Park when I eat in front of them. Most importantly, when you eat protein, just make sure if you have a protein fart, you have to go far away. Because if you hide and do it in the toilet and wait for 5 minutes for it to air out, your mother-in-law is still gonna smell it. Trust me, I've tested these things. I've also put some of the best sources of protein in the same guide which we spoke about earlier. Now, this last rule is kind of like my mother, because she makes sure the whole household is running smooth despite all the chaos. I always found dieting and training and doing everything together to be a bit hard sometimes a bit overwhelming. But by following this rule, it puts you in shoes that makes this 100 times easier. So 2 years ago, a really good friend of mine was traveling from abroad and I told him, you can sleep at my house, me and my ex are on the bed, you and me on the floor. But despite knowing him for years, I only found out how annoying it was to sleep next to him. He snores. He's always moving in bed, making all kinds of weird sounds, knocking things over. Sleeping with him was a nightmare. But the worst part is, every day when we woke up to go to work, he'd be laying there with his morning wood right in our faces. And since we were barely sleeping, we were snapping at people at work. When we got home, we were tired. We were ordering all the junk food and just having the shittiest workouts. Because sleep regulates all this, man. Your hunger hormones, you recover from stress. And when you're sleeping, that's when you're building real muscle. So if you're trying to lose fat and build muscle, sleep is your best friend, man. So my rule was to be in bed 9 hours before the time I had to wake up so I can wind down there naturally and fall asleep by the time, maybe get maybe 7 to 8 hours at least, I hope. I know being in bed 9 hours before might be a bit hard, but just get a minimum of 7 hours, and that's what's going to make all of this happen and fall into place naturally. You'll find it easier to lift heavier in the gym. You won't be craving as much junk, and maybe just an hour's worth of sleep could save you from eating a 2,000 calorie cheat meal. And a sub rule for this, on the days where I was short on time, where I had to train the night, I would just skip training and go to sleep earlier so I can recover better and then just manage myself much better the next day. So by treating building muscle like a girl who's out of my league and getting 75% of my protein early in the day and going to bed 9 hours before really made building muscle and losing fat at the same time easy. Well, not easy, but easier. Even with these 3 rules dialed in, most people still stay average and unfortunately don't look like they even go to the gym. Over here, I break down the real key I use to get jacked from being your most average wanker.